all. Hope you're doing well today. Success is a funny old thing, isn't it? We're told that we've got to be successful in the Western world. We must gain some success. Success is everything. Success defines you. Success is what gains you respect. But what is it? What defines success? What really is it? Is it the amount of money you have? Is it how many friends you have? Is it how many subscribers you have? Is it how many comments you have on your videos? Is it how many women you've slept with? Is it how big your muscles are? Is it how many jobs you've had? Is it how many businesses you own? I don't know. Those are the kinds of things that we kind of get pushed upon us as forms of success in various ways. Certainly as a man, we're told that we're only successful if we've reached a certain point of financial stability or career success or success in your job. Maybe you've got a promotion. But how do you define it? What does it truly mean to be successful in the world? What is it? What really is success? There are certainly different interpretations of it. You might say it's even to some extent subjective. But certainly where I come from, success tends to mean having a stable job, a stable career. I'm not saying that this is the absolute truth of what success is. I'm just saying this is how typically it's defined in my country. It's having, a relatively good job or career. It's having a family. It's having kids. Success is defined by the kind of house you have, what kind of car you drive, what kind of company you keep. Where you go on holiday. What kind of clothes you wear. What kind of things you do with your kids. What kind of activities you partake in. But is that really success? It's certainly nice to have comfort in life. It's certainly nice to have some kind of stability, financial security. There's no doubt about that. I think everybody wants that. But is that really what success is? Is success being confident in yourself? Is success being competent at what you do? How genuinely, how do you define this term of success? What does it actually mean? Because when you look around the world, success can be defined very differently. In some parts of the world, like in Asia, certain parts of Asia, You know, success is defined by how much money you give your parents, you know, taking care of your parents through old age. Success might be seen as collectivized efforts, you know, it's success isn't this purely individualistic kind of approach to life. It's this effort, this unified kind of effort of, you know, this family unit kind of base success. In some parts of the world where there are still tribes, you know, success is catching some prey, you know, it's catching something to eat, it's surviving, it's success is defined in nature often by the one that I suppose in many ways is seen as the bravest, is seen as the most capable, you know, the alpha, or at least temporarily anyway, until there's another alpha that takes over. So even if we were to say that success is defined by the laws of nature, let's say, survival of the fittest, well, that's only that's a temporary form of success. And often success is bound by things outside of our control as well. You can be as much of an alpha as you want to be, but ultimately at the end of the day, if people don't respect you, then you will lose that place at the top of the hierarchy. So it's not just about what you are, it's about the relationship between others around you, especially when it comes to human societies and the ways in which people tend to operate in terms of business. See, in a capitalist system, success is defined by how much profit you make, how much money you bring in, how much you're worth, how much you have to offer. No, there might be some truth to that. But is that all that success is? You know, aren't there any other sides of success? What about being a successful parent, a successful brother, a successful son or daughter? You know? How about being seen as someone that's honest and respectable and trustworthy and loyal? Is that success? Is success maintaining a job that you don't like, that you don't want, that you don't really necessarily need, but you do it anyway? Is success tolerating other people for the sake of peace and civility? Is success self-control, psychological and emotional control? You know, maybe there isn't one definition of success. Maybe it really is just variations, varieties of success. Or maybe it's none of them. We just say it's success, so it is. In our minds. Now, who gets to decide this? Who decides what's truly success or not? Whatever you might feel is the actual definition of it. You know, who gets to decide that? And that begs the question, well, whose truth is it then? Because if you define yourself as successful, that's one thing, but then for other people to decide whether you are or not is a different thing altogether. So, you know, is your success defined by yourself, or is it defined by others? Because it sometimes seems to me that the societies that we belong to tend to, in some ways, direct what's deemed to be success or not, or a failure. Because you could look at it from the other side. You know, what does it mean to be a failure? You know, what is failure? What does it mean to fail? Don't you have to fail to be successful? Maybe that's what success is. To fail consistently until you finally reach a point where you don't fail at something anymore. Maybe that's what success is. You could certainly say that's how it works in terms of business. You know, how many times can you apply for the job that you want and get turned down until you get it? But you know, there's a difference between being persistent and motivated and resilient and buoyant and aspirational and actually, you know, achieving something. What is this? What is the success part? Is it the outcome? Is that what, or is it the journey? Is success more about the journey than the actual outcome? Or, you know, I don't know. Because you might say, you know, I didn't win something, but I trained incredibly hard for it. I tried my best. I didn't give up. I kept trying. But there comes a point where you also have to know your limits in life. And you aren't always going to be able to, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good you are at something, sometimes you might just not get what you want. It doesn't matter what you do. Is success also learning when to say, I know my limits, I know my boundaries, and I'm wise enough to know that this is not realistic? You know, could that be seen as a kind of form of success? Because you're not going to get everything you want out of this life. Even if you had your life over twice or 3 times, you might still not get everything that you would want. You know, I think a lot of success in the Western world is defined by the things you have rather than the things that you are. It's not enough just to be, you know, it's not enough to have just been someone that has been successful. It's more about, are you successful now? It's all good and well if you know, was the winner of the marathon, you know, some marathon somewhere in, you know, 1987 or something. But like, you know, it's all good and well having success in the past. But so again, you know, how do we define success? Is it based on past outcomes, results, or is it based on the present? You know, I think a lot of the time success is defined by competitors by other people around you that respect you in some way. Because you could say that you was a successful, you can have success. Where's the point where you say this is actually what success is? Because you could train for the Olympics and get to a certain point, but never get gold. Never. So are you successful there? I mean, it's like you've achieved something, but is that really success? Because you didn't reach the top prize. You didn't reach the top echelons or something. So it's like, well, is it success or not? If you've had a company. If you had a company, let's say, for 10 years, and then it fails because of some economic downturn or something, or whatever, something happens, and your company goes into debt, did that success mean anything? Did it really mean anything? Because your company closed, it finished, it ended. How long do you have to have success to actually be seen as successful? Over here there are a lot of people that are successful, relatively successful, I guess you would say, if you want to use successful as a word, business owners, investors, there are a lot of startup companies here. There are a lot of teachers that have done relatively well for themselves over here, but whether that would be seen in the same light as successes in the West is a different matter. You could be the best teacher in the world, as seen by the standards of Thai education over here, but in the West, you might be seen as someone that's on the bottom of the rung of the ladder. So it's like it's all kind of maybe success is a relative term. It's not. It's kind of a bit subjective, although it's portrayed as something that's objective. And even if you do have a success, yes, let's just say, just for argument, just for the sake of it, that you have a successful business, whatever that means. Successful compared to what? Compared to who? You might be successful compared to some people, but compared to others, you're not. So I don't know. It's like, again, how do you really say for absolute certainty what success really truly is? Because it's like, you could say for a lot of people, it's like it depends on where you are in relationship to other people, isn't it? But isn't success really about being the absolute top, the absolute best of something? Isn't that what success is defined as, especially in America? Be the best, be the greatest. There used to be back in the day, there used to be a British Army advert. Be the best. Be the best. Success is often defined by how competitive you are, how ballsy you are, and certainly when it comes to the kind of hyper masculine, sort of masculine dominated world of corporatism and capitalism in America and parts of the world, certainly in parts of Europe, I would say, especially in America, probably more even to some extent in China, Korea, Japan, probably Russia, etc. And where do you draw the line? How much money do you have to be successful? How much success do you actually have to be successful? How many businesses do you have to own? How many cars how many houses do you have to have? How many islands do you have to have? Private islands? How much tech do you have to have? To be seen as successful. See, we live in this constant state of comparison. And although people don't often admit it, that is the truth. People are often comparing themselves thanks to social media. But, I mean, it's not just in real life. I mean, how many people are comparing themselves to their co-workers this morning, because they're incompetent or competent but not as competent as someone else. Looking to gain that promotion, looking to, this whole one-upmanship kind of thing, this looking to, put someone's ego in their place kind of thing. How much profit can where is the point where say enough is enough? This is one of the issues with capitalism, is that there doesn't seem to be a certain point, as far as I can tell, where the success is never enough. It's never enough. You always need more and more and more and more and more and more and more. You always need more money, more resources, more and more and more, all the time. And at what expense does success come, Because, how do you, where do ethics and morals come into success? Because if you have to abandon what you think it means to be a decent person, an upstanding citizen, for the sake of success, are you really successful? Yeah, you might have gained some money, you might have propelled yourself forward in life in some materialistic way, I suppose, but I don't know, it's like you might be successful as far as money and business goes, but as far as being a decent moral individual, you've failed. So at what expense? What do you have to sacrifice to get that success? And is it worth it in the end? What do you have to give up? Who do you have to step on? Who do you have to push aside? Who do you have to screw over? Who do you have to manipulate and use and gaslight to get to that point where you can, stick a flag above you, stick a flag in your ego and say, look, I've dominated something. I'm the dominant one here. And you always see it wherever you go in the world of employment. You always see it. You've always got those type A personalities that just it's never enough for them. It's never ever enough. They've always got to have constantly the next the next goal, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. You know, they're never ever satisfied with anything that they achieve. No matter, you know, whatever it is that they accomplish, it's just never enough for them. Success is this, you know, eternal conveyor belt kind of thing. It's just this, it's on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one, on to the next one. I don't think that's success. I think that's insanity, personally. Yeah, it's all good and well to set yourself targets in life and things to work on and to improve upon. And, you know, I think that's we all should be working on things that improve our lives and make ourselves better people. You know, have a better standard of living. But I think it should be done in the right way. I don't think it should be done by way of being a dick. No, I don't think it should be done by, you know, one being, you know, an inconsiderate asshole to get to that point. And some might say, well, you know, in order to be successful, there are certain sacrifices you have to make. There are certain things that you have to, you know, you have to give up. You have to abandon. You have to, you have to be kind of compromised. You know, as they say, money talks. You know, what is success? Is it the amount of money you have in your bank account? Is it how much you're worth? You know, you hear about these influencers and celebrities. You know, this person's worth so many millions of pounds or so many billions or whatever. Something ridiculous, you know. Or this stock is worth this much, or you know, this share is worth this much. You know, Elon Musk is worth so many billions of dollars or whatever. Trump is worth this. This person's worth that. You know, is success defined by what you have, or is success defined by what you do? To me, success is somebody like David Attenborough. Is someone like Jane Goodall. You know, people like that, to me, are success. People that are success stories, or people that have kind of, you know, done things the right way and gained some kind of popularity or gained some kind of, you know, some kind of success. But to me, success is people. To me, I define success as those who are humble enough to realize that their success wasn't purely down to themselves. You know, to me, success without a certain degree of humbleness, like I don't think you really are truly successful. And I think, to me, I don't think success is necessarily about money. You know, money is just a means to an end. It's just a way in which to operate in a system that requires you to have it to survive, to get by, to buy shit. But, you know, money's one thing. But what you do with that money, you know, what you achieve in life, to me, that's what that, you know, if we are to define the word successful, to me, it's not about material things. It's not about how many yachts you have or mansions you have. To me, success is someone that's done something worthwhile. It's someone that's done something that's that was needed, an important invention, a breakthrough scientific discovery, a breakthrough in medicine, a cosmological cosmological research, or I don't know, whatever it is, finding a cure for cancer. To me, that someone that's achieving something that matters, that benefits everybody. To me, that's what success is. It's like, it's all good and well to have millions of dollars in the bank, but like, to me, that doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're rich. It just means that you've made a lot of money. Okay, great, wonderful. But does it really matter? Does it really? After a certain point, you've surely gained enough money that you don't really need any more of it. Like, surely there comes a point where you just say, I don't need any more money. I don't need. How many people in the world right now, have got so much money in the bank that they just don't know what to do with it. But they're addicted to it. They become addicted to this kind of very superficial, what I see anyway, as a very superficial form of success. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have a Ferrari. I'd love to have my own yacht. I'd love to have a nice, big house. But I'm someone that's, I like to think I'm quite a pragmatic and practical individual, a bit more grounded perhaps than some people. And, to me, those things don't matter. It's like, why would I ever want a mansion? Why would I ever want millions of dollars in the bank? It's like, if I had $1 million in the bank, I'd be happy, I think, because I would have enough money that I would, it's like, if I wanted to work, I could choose to. I wouldn't need to, though. And so I would have, I just think that, like, after a certain point, money doesn't mean anything anymore. I don't define success as your bank balance, your assets necessarily. I think to me, it's about how morally bound you are, it's about your moral compass. It's about your ethics and how you choose to treat people in order to achieve something that matters, that's important, that has some kind of benefit to humanity in a way. That's success to me. But it's not to everybody, To some people, success is getting pumped, It's for some people, success is how many dicks you can shove in your gob, How many pussies you can slam. It's like, for some people, success is, how many people you can screw over to get your fix of whatever addiction that you've got going on, For some people, it's treating people like shit at work so you can get that promotion, so you can get access to the boss, the manager, whatever. There are a lot of shitty people in this world, and a lot of people will happily walk all over you to get to what they think, or what they define as their version of success. Their egotistically based view of success. And that's, I think, how a lot of people think. They don't care about doing things, trying to do the right thing. They only care about their own selfishness, their own needs, their own, just their own selfish end in life. They don't care about other people. A lot of these people don't even care about the people closest to them. Some people get so egotistically inflated that when they reach a certain level of wealth, they no longer give a fuck about the family, because they think that their family want their money, and that's not always the case, And in any case, if you've got enough money to take care of your family that will never have that kind of money, I think to some extent you do have a duty to take care of your family to a certain point. Certainly your parents, if they're not as if you've got parents that are in relative poverty, and you've managed being lucky enough or whatever to have had some kind of you have some kind of financial leverage, then I think you have a duty to take care of your parents to some extent. That doesn't mean you give them all your money, but it's like you can certainly help them to live a better life. But you don't see that a lot of the time in the West. It's just me. It's all about me. It's all about fucking what I want to do. That's what the West has become. It's become nothing but a place of entitlement, of selfishness, of greed. And that's what capitalism does. That's what it creates. It creates a system of people fighting for less and less resources, for bigger and bigger prizes. And so it creates this very toxic competition. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Everybody wants something. Everyone's got their hands out. Everybody wants a slice of the cake, Where is the point where you say that we've reached enough success, technologically speaking, where we've reached enough success as a civilization? Where do we draw the line? Where is the point where we say enough is enough? We've done enough. We've reached enough now. That's like that little clip of Jim Carrey. You might have seen it on YouTube, where he was being interviewed and he was talking about retiring. I think it was like 2 years ago now or something. And he was talking about the potential of maybe acting again in some film if the script was good enough. But he said it would have to be something pretty special and the reason he said that was because, and I quote, "I've done enough. I am enough." It was something like, "I've done enough. I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough." I think it was something along those lines. And I think but that's all going well when you've reached such a level of popularity. Is that success? Is popularity success? That's all going well when you've reached a point where you no longer have to work anymore because you've got enough money in the bank. But most people can't afford to do that. Most people can't afford to retire early because they don't have enough money. They don't have enough savings. They can't get access to their pensions until their mid-60s, late 60s. Unless you've been in the military or something like that, where you can get access to your RAF pension or your army pension or whatever. But most people don't have that luxury. So it's like for most people, you end up having to work most of your life to save enough up so that you can afford to live when you retire. And by live, I mean pretty much for most people exist. You might be able to afford the odd holiday here and there, but for the most part, you're just going to be getting by. You're going to be, scrimping and scraping around to save up enough money so you can afford a holiday every year. But besides that, you'll just be existing. It's like you won't starve to death or anything, but you certainly won't be living a great, wonderful life unless you had a really good job, unless you had a great, a stable career for the past few decades, and you might have earned enough money. You put enough money away in your pension pot where you can live a comfortable life, but the way things are going economically and employment-wise, most people, if they're lucky over the next couple of decades, they'll be lucky if they even get a pension. Most people will be lucky if they can even hold down a job. Because it's like, how are we going to define success in the future when there's less and less jobs around? When there's going to be less and less things for people to do, to think of, to engage in that AI isn't already doing, you know. Have we reached the ultimate level of success now with the introduction of AI? You know, is this the straw that will break the camel's back? You know, is AI even? Can we even say it is success? And I want to keep repeating myself every time I make a video and looping back to AI every time, but you know, it's just so dominant over everything, and it's the inevitability of technology, of the, you know, it's the future of the internet, and we have to mention it. We have to talk about it. You know, every time you go shopping, you always see somebody that's got more in their basket than you are. You always see someone that's got more in their trolley than you have, and you think, you know, well, they must be successful. They must have a good job, a good career. You know, how many times we go to, I don't know, you know, your local kind of, what you call like a, you know, you kind of, you know, your local household sort of store or warehouse type place where you can buy all your, you know, all your kind of household items, you know, like washing machines, you know, whatever it is, stuff for your kitchen, you know, your cupboards, your drawers, etc., etc. You know, maybe a new bath, a new shower, you know, like a kind of like B&Q type place or whatever. And you see, you know, you always see stuff in there that you know you can't afford, and you know, this is, you know, you're always like, oh, this is my level of success in life because I can't afford the other stuff. I don't have the money to get the other stuff. So it's like success is always defined off, well, it tends to be defined in the West by how much money you have, you know, where you fit into that whole thing of, you know, you go into your local, you know, your major retail or what, you know, major sort of, you know, your grocery store, wherever you shop. You know, in the UK we've got these giants like Tesco's and Asda, Morrison's. And you know, there's always like the different sort of like brands, you know, of the same product, and you know, again, you see people like with stuff in their baskets that you can't afford, and you kind of get a bit jealous and makes you feel a bit shit about yourself because you think, oh, that should be me, I should be able to afford that. And you know, it just makes you feel like shit every time you go out in public, every time you go and buy something. You know, you see the stuff that you can't afford. It's always, you know, you're lucky if you can kind of get the medium sort of products, medium range products. The way, you know, inflation's going these days, and yeah, I don't know. Just to me, I don't know. Like money is just, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about money really. It's to me, it's. I don't know. I just don't think that money should be the only thing that defines it. I think money, as I mentioned in a couple of videos back now, you know, money essentially equals freedom. You know, if you want to talk about success, then maybe money is the materialistic embodiment of success. You know, it's how much of it you have. You know. You know, how successful are you when you go into your local Tesco or whatever place you go your local shopping, your convenience shopping spot. How successful are you? It's always kind of shoved in your face all the time. It's like this kind of like very subtle way of like trying to like put you in your place, and like, you can't afford this, you can't afford that, you can only get so much of this. I don't know. I just think that like we live in an incredibly unfair system where people just don't get paid enough, nowhere near enough. It's all good and well for professionals to get paid, a very large salary for doing a job that has a lot of skill, and you might say, well, they are definitely worth something, they definitely should get a decent salary, but I think everyone should have a decent salary. Everyone should get enough money to not just survive, but be able to live a relatively comfortable life. And in the West, most people don't. Most people are just struggling to get by. Most people are just existing day in, day out. They're lucky if they can buy, the bottom of the fucking barrel, no frills brand, that whatever that company's brand of whatever it is, I don't know, baked beans or tomato puree or fucking cheap meat. And that's why there's so much. That's why there's an epidemic of obesity and diabetes and cholesterol and heart disease and all sorts of issues related to the heart these days, and diet, lack of nutrition, because people can't afford it. Most people can't afford to and people's self-esteem is so destroyed that they just don't care anymore. Most people, they've just become so, they've just completely given up hope. Certainly in England, there's just a complete lack of hope there now in many parts, especially where I grew up. It's just a complete, just desolate place. It's just it's like people, you want to talk about success. Well, success is often defined, and so success is often at the expense of other people, comes at the expense of other people. It comes and it's often bound by opportunities based on your status, your perceived status, the way you sound, the way you look, the way you come across, how much money you have, who you know, some degree of nepotism, some degree of favoritism. So it's success is often about, it's all good and well to be intellectual or smart or have a good head for figures or whatever, but if you haven't got enough opportunities around you, you can work as hard as you want, but you'll never be seen as, you'll never be respected, and you'll never be seen as someone that's successful. And certainly in the UK, where we have a very ingrained class system to this day, you'll always be seen as somebody lower if you don't have, a typical kind of middle class accent, or you don't come from, a more affluent area. Then you'll never be seen. You'll never be seen as an equal among people that are from those areas. You'll always be seen as someone. You'll always be seen as below. Doesn't matter how much money you have. Doesn't matter how much success you might have gotten. It's like you'll always be you'll always be seen as someone that's lower than others. If you don't have the right accent or the right kind of sense of humour or the right kind of degree of confidence, or if you don't have the charisma, then you'll never be respected and you'll never be liked. Because it's always competition. It's always who's the top dog, who gets to make the rules, who gets to make the definitions, who gets to dictate the terms of success. Who's the alpha? Who looks up to the alpha? Who has alliances with the alpha? I don't know, I just, sometimes it's hard to deal with all this shit, it's hard it's hard because, like, I want to do something about it, but I know there's nothing I can do. I can't change the system around. I can't make the system fairer. I can't make the system more moral or ethical. The only thing I can do is to, if I have enough money, is to certainly from a consumer angle, is to buy better, what I think might be better products. But if you're not respected or seen as someone that's successful, you'll probably never have success. You'll probably never be given opportunities. You'll never be seen as someone that's worthy enough of respect. And respect goes a long way when it comes to other people seeing you as an equal. You can try your best, you can work, you can stick out that job as long as you want, you can try and get a promotion, you can do whatever you want, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's a cutthroat world. We live in a cutthroat world, and everyone wants to get to the top. Everybody wants to. When I say everybody, I don't mean everybody, but I mean a lot of the more sort of dominant types in this world. They want a piece of the top of the mountain, don't they? Whether that's with some investment, some share of some company, some reaching a certain level of financial bracket, whatever. Being a CEO, being at the top of the management, structure, whatever. It's just and people might say, well, you sound incredibly insecure. You sound like you're very jealous. Yeah, and that's true. I am insecure. I am jealous because I'll never have it. I'll never have it. I will never ever have the kind of. I'll never be the kind of person that will be respected. I'll never have enough money in my bank for people to respect me. For people to like me. And often people, the more you have, the more people are going to like you. The more people are going to like being around you. And it's going to attract people that are of a similar caliber to you. And I'm never going to have that. Because I'm not business minded. I'm not smart enough. I'm not competent enough. Everyone makes decisions for you. If you're not seen as someone that's successful, then you don't get to dictate the life. If you don't have a certain degree of money in your bank, you don't have any say in a lot of things. People make your life for you. People make decisions for you. That's how it works. It's like if you've got a certain degree of money, you can buy your way out of things, or you can buy your way into things. or at least try. You have more of a chance at getting access to things, access to more opportunities. To have success, you have to have more success. You have to have success in the first place. For people for people to invest in you, they have to see that you have a track record. You have to. For people to give you an opportunity, they have to see that you have a track record of this or this or this. I don't mind admitting it. I'm a failure. I admit that. I am a failure. I failed in life. In many ways. And, I'm not just saying that for pity or self-loathing or anything. I'm just saying that's the truth. I'm not a success story. I'm not someone that's achieved what I would consider to be success. And I'm not talking about money. I'm not anybody. I'm not anyone. I'm not respected. I'm not seen as someone that's important, or not that it necessarily matters, but it would be nice for people to appreciate you in some way. For people to have a little bit of respect for you. And because to me that's what matters. I want to be respected. I want to be liked. But I don't really have anything to show for myself. I don't really have anything that I think people could respect me for it. So it's like I suppose it really is my own fault. I brought it on myself. Not exactly, but in some ways. I was never book smart. I was never a bookworm. I was never academically gifted. So I was never gonna end up owning a business or becoming a manager or a CEO. I was never gonna ever, that was wishful thinking. The best I could have hoped for leaving school at 16 in the mid 2000s was to get a basic job, basic income. And some might think, well, yeah, but you moved to Thailand, you did this, you did. It's like, yeah, well, that's to me. I don't define that as success. I define that as running away from a life that didn't bring me any happiness. Running away from my problems, running away from my trauma. So I wasn't a success. I was a coward. I was a failure as a man. I am a failure, and I accept that. And I'm brave enough to be able to be open and honest about it. But it doesn't exactly fill me with any kind of admiration for myself or anything. I'm not proud of it just because I've admitted it, because I have enough self-awareness to be able to say it. But at least it's the truth. At least I'm not living in denial. At least I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. But as you probably know, if you've watched my videos, I've mentioned my own issues of mental health, and you could say, well, that's just an excuse, and maybe it is. There's plenty of people out there that have got problems with mental health, and yet they've been successful or relatively successful, if you want to, just for want of a better word. So I don't know. I don't know what. I think I got stuck in cycles of rumination and catastrophizing and just feeling low, that it just became the norm for me. I just got used to such a shitty level of self-esteem and a complete lack of confidence that it just destroyed me. I let myself destroy myself, but I didn't realize I didn't realize I was destroying myself, because I thought that was just. I didn't think that. I guess I didn't really think there was anything wrong with me. I didn't really think. I thought that's just how I was. But now I'm a bit older, I realised that essentially I let my mental health define me, and that was a mistake. That was something that I should have nipped in the bud a lot earlier. And let's face it, I think for the most part it's too late now. It's just too late, and that's not me being defeatist. That's me being realistic. I'm 35 years old, and if I was gonna have had any real success, I would have had it by now. I would have achieved it in my 20s when I was at my peak, mentally, physically. And while I may maybe in some ways maybe have some kind of success in the future, whatever that might be, however one might define the word success, it'll never be important. It'll never be enough. It'll never be. I just won't be someone that's. I will never be someone that's going to be on a stage in a suit, receiving an award or, being respected by my community for being recognised for something or whatever, or getting some kind of university, status attached to my name or anything. Because I haven't given anything. I haven't contributed anything to this world, really. So I've made a bit of art, I suppose, if you want to even call it that. I've made a lot of DJ mixes over the years. I've wrote a bit of poetry. But who gives a fuck? Who cares? Like it fucking matters. Does it matter? Do I matter? I don't know. I don't think I do. Am I bitter about the fact that I haven't had any real success in life? Maybe I am. Maybe I am. Do I resent others? I wouldn't say I resent them, but I would say there's a bit of jealousy there. I don't feel any pride in myself. I don't feel like I've really achieved anything of any real significance so far. And when you struggle with motivation and energy, it's very difficult to change. Very difficult to break out that headspace. Very difficult to get your head out your ass. Because you're ashamed of yourself. You're embarrassed of yourself by yourself. You've got no pride. You've got no self-esteem left. You've got no hope. So it does make you bitter. It does make you a bit resentful and jealous. Because I didn't have the kind of qualities. I don't have the kind of qualities that you need. I didn't have the kind of opportunities and wealth growing up that I would have needed probably to have been successful in life, or at least to have had a better chance at being successful, as if we define it by the ways, some of the ways that I've mentioned earlier in the video with regards to materialistic stuff. And it's not because it's not about the money, it's not about the things that people have, it's about the fact that people respect you because you've done something, you've achieved something in life. I don't feel that. I don't have that. And that makes me feel less of a man because of it. But then again, we come back to definitions, don't we? How do you define a man? What does it mean to be a man in the West, or just in general? What does it mean to be masculine? What does it mean to be a successful man? The best I can hope for at this point is to just get a job and just try and save some money as best as I can. Have the odd holiday here and there. But I'll tell you what, guys. I'm definitely crushed as a person these days. I definitely feel a very, very strong existential pressure and very depressed kind of vibe. And that's what happens, you see, when you don't see any value in yourself anymore, when you don't see any self-worth. That's how you become. And before you know it, you're taking drugs, you're drinking, you're frustrated all the time, you're irritable, you're angry, you're disappointed in yourself, in life. You start projecting. You become defensive, you become passive-aggressive. And people don't want to be around that. And I get it, I understand. I don't blame people. I completely get it. And I'm not asking for people to like me. I'm just saying this. This is my platform, and I just want to have the chance to be open and honest, because I can't do it anywhere else, as far as I can tell, anyway. So this is the only place I can do it. And I'm not looking for your sympathy, not looking for your pity. I don't want it. I'm not asking for it. I'm not looking for it. Some of my problems are self-inflicted, and that's on me. And I have to now live with that shit for the rest of my life. That I am a failure. By all kind of definitions of, pretty much all definitions, of other people. They will say you're a failure, you're a loser. You've got no job, you've got no money, you're always broke. You're not good enough, you're incompetent, you're not smart enough, you're not knowledgeable enough, you're not educated enough. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Sometimes I just don't know why I wake up in the morning, if I'm honest. I don't know why I wake up anymore. Sometimes I just go to sleep and I just hope that I just fucking die in my sleep, quite frankly. I just don't see the point. I don't know why I don't even know why I'm alive anymore. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore with my life. I wake up every day, make a video. For who? For what? Nobody likes them, nobody comments. Or even on the ones that are open, where the comments are open. I think at this point I just do it because I'm lonely. I do it because I want to reach out to the world, so I want people to see that I exist. To give myself something to do. But I do mean what I say. But I think honestly part of it's just coping. I haven't even had any real success on social media. Now I put my heart and soul into certain projects on my channel, and yeah, some of them got a few likes, but what does it fucking matter? What does it mean in the end anyway? People don't appreciate your fucking efforts and your time and your energy spent in things. You spent days and days and days at stuff. You don't care. It's a fucking disposable fucking wasteland. That's all. It's just a toxic wasteland now, social media. Nothing means anything anymore. Even people that are successful on YouTube, they don't really mean anything anymore on a platform that's got millions of other people that have had success. So nothing means anything anymore. So even if there is a strong definition of success, what does it mean anymore when on a platform that's so oversaturated with other people that actually might be seen as people that are successful? Success doesn't have any inherent value, does it? Because if all you're surrounded by is other people that are successful, just as successful as you are, then how successful are you? I just all I can hope at this point is that I just fucking die in my sleep. Honestly, I hope I do. I don't want to see out another 35 years. I've had just about enough of it. I don't. Sometimes I don't think I can take any more. I really don't. I don't think I can handle it. I don't think I can handle life sometimes, to be honest. This world's not for me, man. Never has been, never will be. Just too deeply ingrained in my own introspectiveness and my own deep thinking, my own self-awareness, my own awareness of uncomfortable truths and the realities of human nature that people don't want to talk about, people don't want to hear about. Am I sad? Definitely. Am I depressed? Absolutely. I'm not giving up per se, but like sometimes you just kind of wonder what the fuck you're doing, you know? Why do I keep waking up every day? Why am I not dead yet? You know, I'm not trying to be depressing, but like, yeah, I just like honestly, like seriously, like what the fuck does my life even mean anymore? Because by all accounts, I'm not a fucking success story. Not that it matters necessarily, you know. Not that it's like my success has to whatever word you wish to use has to be defined by other people. But you know, you at least want to have some kind of self-respect as a man. Or when you lose that self-respect, you become apathetic and you lose all hope and you stop caring, you give up. That's where I'm at. I've just become so defeated, so I just don't care anymore. I just don't fucking care anymore. I've just given up. And nobody can help me, and I accept that. And only I can turn shit around, but I just don't have it in me. I just don't have it in me to fucking do anything. I don't have the energy. I can't find the motivation in me somewhere to fucking change shit around. I used to. I don't have it anymore. And so, yeah, when I look at people that have got a lot of money, you know, they're highly respected, highly popular, you know, people like them, people respect what they have to say. And yeah, of course I get a bit fucking bitter and envious of them, of course. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit you. And the thing is, most people are. Most people do that. Most people are jealous of others in some way or other. They've got the latest fucking gadget, the latest, you know, pair of sneakers, you know, the best, you know, whatever it might be, you know, the latest game, the latest this. Everyone's jealous of someone in some way. It's even common among families. It's just that people just don't say it. People don't say this stuff, but I do. You know, maybe you could say that at least. You know, maybe my if you can call it respect, you could at least respect me for the fact that, you know, I try to be honest and open and real with you. You know, whether that's success or not, I don't know. Probably not, but. I just don't know why I'm in this world anymore. I don't know what this world is. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. I don't know what. I just don't see the point in a lot of it. I don't know what we're working toward. I don't know where we're going in life. I don't know what anything means anymore. All I know is that the world is run by greedy megalomaniac types that just want to fucking rape the world of its resources and as much money as they can possibly get. and screw over as many people as they can to get rich, to stay rich, to keep access of territories, of access to oil, of natural resources, and fuck everybody else in the process of it, and make everyone pay an extortionate amount of money for it, increase inflation in the process so nobody can afford to fucking have a quality of life they could once, just a few decades ago, afford to be able to have comfortably. And we're getting sold technology that's going to make us obsolete, and everyone's going to buy into it. What the fuck are we doing, man? What the fuck are we doing? Why are we tolerating this shit? Why do we just keep tolerating all this fucking bullshit? Why do we keep getting fucking dicks rammed down our assholes every fucking day of our lives? For fucking what? For whose benefits? It's certainly not ours. We'll let these fucking greedy fucking bastards ruin the fucking planet in the process and make us pay ridiculous amounts of money for shit that only a few decades ago was fucking cheap as chips. And yet all these fucking people that are responsible for damaging the fucking global economy, they get away with it. Politicians, bankers, business fucking men and women, greedy fucking politicians, lobby groups, stakeholders, all got their fucking hands out. I want some of it. Give me fucking some of that money. Give me it now. I want it now. We don't care about the plebs. We don't care about the general public. Fuck those people. Fucking damn right I'm angry. Anyone with a fucking brain cell should be. This world is a fucking scam. It's a con job. You're getting swindled left, right and centre. Having the fucking wool pulled over our eyes all the time. This world was bought and paid for a very, very long time ago, as George Carlin once said. It's fucking right, man. We're so right. The average person's got no chance in this fucking world, I tell you. They've got no chance. The vast majority of people will be lucky enough if they can hold a job down over the next couple of years, the next couple of decades. And anyone living on universal basic income will have all sorts of shit they've got to abide by in order to get it. And before you know it, you'll end up having to eat bugs because everything will be too expensive. That's the way the world's going. Climate change will fuck everything up. There'll be fucking chaos all over the world. Immigration will get out of control. There'll be fucking unrest everywhere. There'll be rationing. Shelves will be empty. But do you know what? Part of me just thinks, fuck it. Maybe it's what we fucking deserve. Maybe we deserve it, man. We deserve to go extinct. We fucking deserve it. The way we treat our planet, the way we treat others, the way we treat our precious fucking ecosystems and innocent fucking animals on the planet. Maybe we fucking deserve it. Maybe the earth's just had a fucking enough. It's telling us to go fucking do one. And do you know what? I'm not sorry for swearing. I'm not sorry for getting angry. It's called being a human fucking being, man. You should be fucking pissed off. You should be angry. You should be disappointed. You should be frustrated. You should be annoyed about the way things are. Because if enough fucking people were, the world wouldn't be what it is. People need to wake the fuck up, man, before it's too late. Maybe it already is. So let these fucking multi-fucking billionaire, trillionaire types fucking rule the planet. Let them think that they're in control, that they have some inherent power and fucking, control over everything. Sure, in the short term, sure. But in the long term, Mother Earth will fucking tell us to fuck off. Because the Earth doesn't give a fuck about one fucking insignificant species among millions of others that have ever existed. Space certainly doesn't give a fuck about life. That's why there's no life, as far as we can tell, in other parts of the solar system, apart from probably microbes or whatever. Who gives a fuck about that? And if there are any fucking life forms out there that are similar to us, they're probably thousands of light years from us. So we'll never ever meet them. I don't want to keep changing topics here, but let's face it, in the grand scheme of things, who gives a fuck whether aliens exist out there? Who cares? Because if there are any out there, they'll be far fucking from us. We'll never ever communicate with them. We'll never ever get to them. Or if we ever possibly could, we would probably fucking self-destruct before we even got the ability to do so. Maybe that's success. Maybe success is when our species finally fucks off and dies and goes extinct. Maybe that's real success. When the universe finally fucking goes cold, there's nothing left in it, and dies. Maybe that's success.